That's the
I've
truth.
heard you talk about rights before.
I can dive into that. Yes. So when you are talking about forms of rights, right, there's no such thing as rights. What we're really talking about is access to force. That's what you're talking about, too. You just don't know it. But everything that you're propagating here, we need to collectively do X. What do you do with the people who don't collectivize and resist X? Well, you're going to have to use force. You don't have a right to do anything except what the guy with the barrel of a gun tells you have a right to do. And that's the case, and it's been the case for all of human history. We like to forget that that's the case, but it is, in fact, the case.
Well, hello, and welcome back, my beautiful Tater Nation. It's me, of course, your favorite freedom-loving potato, broadcasting from beneath the soil of liberty, where the roots run deep and the government's reach doesn't quite make it down here yet. You know us potatoes, we've got lots and lots of eyes, and we like watching all the interesting things you do up top. Today, we're going to be talking about your rights. You know, those things that the government keeps calling suggestions. I swear, some of those bureaucrats think that the Bill of Rights is some menu that you can order off of. I'll take freedom of speech without the consequences, please. It's not quite how the world works, is it? And of course, as always, let's start our day off with the motivational quote. A right not defended is like a sprout left in the dark. It'll wither before it ever sees the sun. And of course, the known person to quote from Thomas Jefferson. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure. That one always hits like a sack of wet soil, doesn't it? Jefferson wasn't calling for chaos. He was reminding us that liberty has a maintenance fee. Freedom doesn't come with auto pay. You must manually defend it. Because the moment you forget to, the government, well, it starts to become like weeds. And that weed does not stop at your fence line. And of course, the United States. The land of the free, the home of the brave, and the only place where a potato like myself can host a podcast without the fear of being thrown into a potato salad. Rights, your rights, aren't gifts. They weren't handed down by politicians in nice suits. They were yours, given to you from birth. Not on loan from some bureaucrat with a clipboard. But here is the catch. If you don't defend them, they rot. And once they rot, the government doesn't show up saying, hey, we've got a replacement plan, citizen, don't you worry. So today we're going to be covering a debate between Andrew Wilson and a Casey Malone, who is an atheist. If you don't know who Andrew Wilson is, you've probably been living under a rock, it seems like these days. He's been hitting the scene pretty hard. He is a Christian nationalist in this particular debate, and so we won't necessarily be covering the Christian nationalism part of it. But if you like debates and you like to see people talk about their views, the Crucible, where Andrew hosts, is a good channel to subscribe to view, to see. He has some really good, strong debate tactics and good takes on things. This particular debate was hosted by a Modern Day Debates. If you like debate content, they have some good debates coming up, as well as some good debates in their section to go view. So I'll leave the description or the link for this video and the Crucible and the Modern Day Debates channels in the description. Please go check them out. And for now, we'll go ahead and start in on our video.
That's the truth.
I've heard you talk about rights before.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about why you think that the quote unquote secular left is so obsessed with just having, I don't know how you say it, but like, well, they just want rights to do whatever they want, and it's not about duty, and it's not about
because they don't care.
Responsibility.
Yes, I can dive into that. Yes. So when you are talking about forms of rights, right? There's no such thing as rights. What we're really talking about is access to force. That's what you're talking about too. You just don't know it. But everything that you're propagating here, we need to collectively do X. What do you do with the people who don't collectivize and resist X? Well, you're going to have to use force. That's what you're going to have to do. And so really what we're arguing about here is the use of force in whose hands it's better in. Is the use of force better in the hands of Christian ethicists? Or is the use of force better in the hands of abortionists and degenerates? That's what we're asking. And ultimately, that's all we're ever asking. You don't have a right to do anything except what the guy with the barrel of a gun tells you have a right to do. And that's the case, and it's been the case for all of human history. We like to forget that that's the case, but it is, in fact, the case. And
So that's just it. So let's talk about the two rights that prop up all of the others. The First and the Second Amendments. The dynamic duo, the peanut butter and jelly of freedom. The First Amendment gives you the voice, and the Second Amendment makes sure nobody can duct tape it shut. The man with the gun will always be in control. That's why we must hold to our rights and our Second Amendment. Our Second Amendment props up the First Amendment, and the First Amendment is how you speak truth, tell jokes, sing protest songs, and express beliefs, even if they make some bureaucrat's hairpiece tremble. It's the freedom that lets you say, no, Senator, I don't think banning plastic straws saved the planet. By creating a microfilm on the inside of paper is not saving anyone.
so here's what I propose. Since I know that this is actually just a dominant power struggle, I do think that you want power to legislate whatever the hell it is that you want. And I think it's totally appropriate to want to do the exact same thing for the world that I want to see, which isn't a collectivization of a bunch of blue-haired freaks who say, oh, let's get a collectivized tax on some millionaires and that'll solve nothing. It'll solve nothing.
That he's absolutely correct. By taxing a collective group of people, all you're going to do is incentivize them to raise their base price for you and for me. As been seen in when Seattle raised their minimum wage to $15 an hour, across the nation, fast food joint prices went up. The price of a burger went twice, 3 times, 4 times as high as it was before that. So tell me again how taxing a group of people is going to solve anything.
Okay, that wasn't really what I was asking, so I'll get back to that in a second. But okay, the use of force. I've seen that you kind of align with, what is it, Nietzsche's will to power.
No, not at all. It's
I've
a
heard you talk
descriptor.
about will to power.
No, I don't. No, you've never heard it once.
Okay.
I myself believe
You
that
think
this.
No, you haven't ever heard him talk about the will to power, because he doesn't, like he just states. And you to say it with such confidence and then go, oh, yeah, okay, this has got to stop. I understand there's rhetoric behind debates and things like that, but if you don't know what you're talking about, don't say it with such confidence. You just make yourself look worse.
It's a
power is the
descriptor.
use.
Yeah, so what I'm giving you is a descriptor, not an ought claim. It's a descriptor for how the world works and how the world has always worked. And it's because human beings are animals. And there is
That's an interesting claim
and
from
the
what I
idea
assume
here-
is a creationist.
Yeah, why is that an interesting claim? I'm using words you understand. So the thing is like, if this is the case.
Oh, I thought I had something there. Science tells us that we are animals. Plain and simple. So regardless of whether you're a creationist or a scientist, you believe that DNA, biology, is a thing. Imagine that. Biology, an actual reality. And then there's the Second Amendment, the bodyguard of the First. Without it, the rest of your rights are just decorative. It's not about hunting deer. It's about making sure tyrants don't start hunting you. Because history's pretty clear. Every government that said, trust us, will protect you, ended up protecting themselves from you. When the founders wrote the Second Amendment, they didn't say the right to bear arms shall not be infringed unless someone on Twitter gets uncomfortable. It is just simply shall not be infringed.
We're animals, and we're looking at power dynamics, and that's what you're trying to solve for right now is power dynamics. You say that that's what inequality is, right? It's the idea that one group is going to have more power than another group. That's what the whole point of it is. Otherwise, you wouldn't even care about inequality. The whole root of all of this is really just power. Who wants power? You think power is best in your hands, and I don't. I think that power is best served in the hands of the Christian ethicist and not you people, because we see that your prescriptions are terrible.
You put words in my mouth. I would disagree. I think that the power is best equally distributed amongst. I would put you and me in the same category as that. I would
remember that. Power needs to be equally distributed. I'd put you and me in the same category. That will come into play later, and that's a contradiction.
Would not say me power.
It can't
over
be.
You.
It can't. Power can't be.
I know that you don't see that as a possibility.
No,
I'm saying no. I know that you don't see that as a possibility. I'm saying that's what I stand
You don't
for.
see it as a possibility either. I'll explain how. I know it's.
She doesn't see it as a possibility either. She doesn't. And she'll contradict herself later on in the video.
No. Hold on. I had an actual question about rights that we
Yeah,
did
but
not
I want to
get
follow up on this, and then we can go to rights.
I realize I'm losing, so I got to divert back to rights. Let's go back to what I was starting to try to get a point on, and then you got me, so now I've got to try to divert back.
So the thing is like, no, in every society that you would ever propose, you're going to have an enforcement arm, no matter what. And if you're going to have an enforcement arm, and you're going to have an enforcement arm, there's no society you can propose to me right now that doesn't have an enforcement arm. If that's the case, they're going to necessarily have to be imbued with power to enforce the things that you want. You can't, and I'll tell you what, if I'm wrong, give me a single society that doesn't require enforcement.
Again, the difference between you and me is you keep saying that they are combative, and I think that there is room for Christianity under secularism. There's not room for atheists under Christian nationalism. That's the difference between you and me.
Well, why? You're here.
So let's start off. That was a red herring because he's not talking about that. He's talking about the fact that we have to be able to defend our rights. What she starts going off on is something completely different.
Right now, and you just said that we're all Christians in charge. So what are you talking about? That contradicts your whole position. You just said that the entire United States, United States is already Christian nationalist, and you're here right now as secularist. You're not in prison, so you just lied.
And you're very clearly
so you just lied.
Not include me in positions of decision making. You're very clearly not trying to include me.
That's not saying you can't exist.
I don't want to.
Me saying that you.
I don't.
Me saying that I want to.
They do the same thing. You want something, you tell us what we can and can't do. We want something, we're going to have to tell you what you can and can't do. But our country was built on morals, values, and integrity. That's what made us the powerhouse nation we were. Maybe the reason we're degrading in our powerhouse status is because of the degeneracy, not because of something that has worked for hundreds of years up until we decided that we didn't need the nuclear family anymore. When you look at the rates of fathers in the home and the incarceration rate with single mother homes, it's a little bit hard to say that single parent homes are what needs to be done. And if it's not single parent homes, then what's the other one? It's going to be nuclear family homes. Because when, again, you look at the violence in step parent homes, it's significantly higher than it is in a biological parent home. We need to get back to unity. We need to get back to vetting people before we get married. We need to get back to understanding ourselves well enough to understand our partners.
Calm down. So it is what you said, right? And it's a contradiction. That's the first contradiction in your worldview. The second is you open this by saying you already have a Christian nationalist nation. Are you happy? Are you happy about it? And you say there's no room for secularists inside the Christian nationalist nation, even though you're right here, right now. Nobody's putting you in prison. Nobody's saying can't be on the internet. Nobody's saying any of those things inside the Christian nationalist nation that apparently we already currently have. There's no room for you. Me saying that I don't want people who hold your ideology to have power, and so I'll fight for power for people who hold my ideology, is not saying you can't exist here. That's
exactly it. Christians do not have a problem with you wanting to believe what you want to believe. It's the fact that you can have the power to push it onto other people. The Christian idea is the betterment of everyone for everyone, not the betterment of our group because we want it. And there's nothing that is beneficial to the world from promiscuity. That's an individual level benefit or negative.
Insane. That's not even a take. That's not even a take. It just is babble. It doesn't mean anything. What are you talking about? Me saying I get to have power if you get to have power, and I'm going to fight for my side to have it, is not saying there's no room for you. And if it was, you'd be saying the same thing. I want to fight for power so Christian nationalists don't have it, would be the same thing as you saying that means that you're not included in our secular society. Do you see how insane that is?
But you're still trying to pit us to get against each other, and I'm still pushing back against that. I don't think so. I think that we have.
How are we not pitted against each other? We have opposite ways of viewing things. There's only a certain level of common ground that one can get to before it's no longer common ground. We're in war for morality, integrity, wisdom, morals, all of it. We've got to start to understand what we really want in life. If you really want everybody to be good, you want Christians to be popular. If you want Christians not to be popular, you want to do what thou wilt and do whatever you want. That is not structure.
Or at least I would hope that you care about the viewers having their basic needs met and them not having economic anxiety about the future and them having meaningful, fulfilling participation in society. I hope that's what you care about. Yeah, I guess I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm pretty sure that we're aligned about that. And so
I don't think we are aligned about that.
I'm pretty sure maybe we have different ways to go about it. That feels weird to say, but
what's the word accountability mean to you? What does that word mean? Accountability.
No, if we're gonna switch gears, can we go back to rights? Okay.
Accountability just being whispered and she runs as fast as she can. Why is it such a problem to just define accountability? You're not taking accountability. You're just defining it.
Okay, let's go back to rights.
I want to know why you think that.
And how is accountability anything but tying right in with rights?
Minority groups asking for more rights is about people just getting this whole notion of like they don't want any more responsibility, they don't want any more duty or whatever.
Because that's not what they usually are in askins of quote rights. There are no rights which minorities don't have. Can you name one?
Hold on, there are no rights. What?
There are no rights extended to me that aren't extended to minorities. Can you name a single one?
Well, that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to ask you your stance on that. Is you think that you get frustrated
if there's not a single one.
He just gave you his stance on it. Why are you questioning it?
I don't even know what the point is. So there's not a single right.
Yeah.
There's not a single right that's extended to me that's not extended to minority groups, not a single one. And so the thing is like, what's the point of contention? You say they're fighting for more rights. Fighting for more rights to do what? What?
So
to abort their kids, right?
Fair.
To abort their kids? To abort their kids? That's what they're usually fighting for the right for? To abort their kids.
Again, tying this back into the conversation about power, I think that and all of these initial
fighting to abort their kids, fighting to go into the opposite gender's bathroom, fighting to be able to dress up as the opposite gender. Not one of these things is going to benefit the world in whole. This idea that men start to dress up as women so that they can go into women's sports is not helping women's sports. This idea that men are dressing up as women so that they can go into women's bathrooms is not helping women's bathrooms.
social rights movements are not so much about, hey, we'd like to rather do whatever we want, and
Yeah, they
more
are.
about like, hey, there's been too much power, kind of like what you're talking about with Christians supposedly being taken over by secular leftism or whatever. So maybe
Yeah.
you
Well,
understand this concept.
okay,
So
maybe we
hold
have
on,
an olive
hold on,
branch here, actually.
hold on.
Go ahead.
What? No. Oh, an olive branch.
Yeah, I think
Really?
maybe
You're going to give me something. Okay, I'll stop filibustering for a second and let you talk.
we have an olive branch here, right? So I do think that the justification for most of the quote rights movements of feminism and things like that has been their justification is that there's unequal distribution of power. So the olive branch to you is, I think that is how they justify that. Absolutely. I just think it's fucking stupid. There is never going to be a such thing as an equalization of power. That's fantasy land, pure fantasy land. The thing is that distributed power is always going to be enforced by the patriarchy. The feminists are always going to have to appeal to the patriarchy for power. There's no choice. Otherwise, you wouldn't have an oppressed class. Who would feminists be oppressed by? They have to be oppressed by men, right? Who else could oppress them? Has to be men. It's like why you say I divide. I think it's the opposite. I think you guys divide. I think you're always looking for the oppressor-oppressed class, and you divide between them so that you can pit what you consider the oppressed against the oppressor, which is exactly how Marx had it, right? The proletariat and the bourgeoisie. The proletariat's being oppressed by the bourgeoisie. You need to collectivize.
Fair.
You need to overthrow them.
Okay,
Just like they
other
did the
olive
Tsar
branch,
when
olive
they
branch.
shot Tsar Nicholas and killed him. The Marxists did and killed all the Orthodox Christians. They were really trying to make sure we could live together, weren't they?
Okay, the olive branches. I that's fair. If we're going to talk about, there is always going to be at least some level of unequal distribution of power. I think that again, this goes back to you're pitting it between two different ideologies, and I'm trying to pit it from people.
Yeah, you're trying to
on
use
our
class,
level.
correct?
Yeah,
And there it is. The contradiction of the day. I thought power would be able to be equalized. I thought we could get here. But now you're saying that power would never be able to be equalized because it's on classes. So what is it? The classes can be equalized in and amongst themselves, the classes. Guess what? That's what we have already.
correct.
Yeah, so the
So,
idea,
yeah,
so the
that's
idea,
fair.
Correct. Thanks.
yeah, so but here's the threshold breaker, and this is why it's really important that you hear what I'm about to say to you, because it could change your life. I doubt it will, but it could. You have to use class. You have to use class because there's always going to be class differentials between people, no matter what. No matter what.
Well, you
And
just said
hang on,
that
hang on, hang on.
patriarchy would always exist.
Hang on, I'll explain. The truth is, some people are born smart, and some people are born dumb. Some people are born tall, some people are born short, right? And that's going to lead to unique advantages that some people will always have, no matter how you try to compensate it with whatever system you try to compensate it with. And so power is necessarily always going to be distributed to a few. Always, no matter what. And there's nothing you can do about it. That's how power is always going to be distributed, because some people are really smart and they can accumulate it to themselves. And a lot of people are really fucking dumb and they actually want to be ruled. And this is where you people get everything wrong. A lot of people actually want to be ruled. They want things to just work and they go about their day and they don't have to pay attention to nothing. They prefer that. And the thing is,
And that's exactly it, guys. Right there. That is such a true, factual point. How many of you want to be able to just turn off your brains and go to work? Not have to think about what's going on. Not have to understand what the process is. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with wanting to be a quote-unquote follower over a leader. Leaders have a lot of responsibility. A lot can go wrong when you're the leader. If you're the follower, you've got the scapegoat. Yes, I understand that the scapegoat from the leader is typically the followers. But you can say, I'm just following directions. I'm just doing what I'm told. The leader is the one who has to direct it. There's nothing wrong with being followers. We have to have those low workers. We have to have the infrastructure support. We have to have those flaggers for the roadsides. We have to have those ditch diggers. We have to have those people, the lawyers, the doctors, the presidents of the United States. There's only one president of the United States at a time. Not everybody is going to be able to be it. Yes, they say we all have the capability of being the president of the United States to give you hope, to give you motivation. But let's face it, a lot of you would never ever want to have the responsibility that Trump does now. Not a single one of you would want to go through the drama that he has to go through on a daily basis to make sure that we are all taken care of. And yes, he is trying to make sure that we are all taken care of. He is the pilot on the plane. Why would you want the pilot to crash that plane? You don't vote the pilot down. You vote him with confidence and motivation, because at this point in time, he is your pilot, whether you like to admit it or not. And he will be for a few more years. It's time to understand that we all have a part to play, and that may be as a follower. I'm a grunt. I throw bricks. That's what I do for a living. I work for myself, by myself, and I do everything on my own unless I can absolutely find help, which is very rare anymore. The point of the matter is we all have the rights we all have. Not a single person has any less rights than anyone else inside of the United States. Outside of the United States, I will admit, your rights are dwindling, and I'm here to try my best to make sure that that stops happening. Just like in the United States, we have to hold on to our rights, no matter the cost. The tree of liberty must be refreshed once in a while with the blood of tyrants and the blood of patriots. I'm willing to bleed for my nation. Are you?
It's just like, until we can ever get into the progressive, into your guys' head, until we can beat it into your head, that many people's preference is just that they go about their day and they're not bothered. That's it. They don't want anything to do with any of these systems. They don't care about it at all. It's not necessary. They actually want to be ruled. There's people who like having bosses. They like the structure of that, right? They're not radicals. It's not important to them, right?
So again, there's a lot of people out there that don't want to own a business. They don't want the headache, the responsibility that comes with owning a company. Trust me when I say is don't walk in the park. It's not all daisies and tulips. It's work, hard work, stress, and strain on your mental and your physical being. It's okay to just work for someone. Not all of us are meant to do that. So if you're not meant to do that, by all means, find your purpose and do it. Never back down, my friends. Find what makes you happy and do it. This makes me happy, talking to you guys, sharing my views, trying to be a positive influence. So we'll jump forward here into the debate where they actually she starts to contradict herself. Andrew doesn't contradict himself. He's fairly consistent in his view. Always has been as far as I've been watching him. But Casey will start to contradict the level of equality that she thinks is possible.
Or you wouldn't have given me answer like, because everyone else was just running around being way too moral to pay any attention. Dumbest thing I ever heard. Well, actually, you know what? That might be the single dumbest thing I've ever heard from anybody ever. And let me just walk you through it to understand, right? The way that people get into positions of authority and power is because they're imbued with them. They're imbued with them from a people group. And do you want to know how I know that that's the case? Because at any time we want, we can collectively kill every single person in authority, and there's nothing they could do about it. And we don't. And it's not because of a control grid-based system that's set up. It's because we imbue people to take care of shit we don't want to deal with. We imbue them to take care of the roads, and we imbue them to take care of the power lines, and we imbue them to take care of all the little government oversights and paperwork and shit we don't want to deal with, and foreign diplomats, and we imbue them to take care of trade deals. We imbue them with the authority to do that so that we don't have to, because that's what smart people do. They take details, right, and they give them to people to take care of those on their behalf, right? Not because of immorality or morality. Your government is the reflection of the moral fabric of the social order that you live in. And if you hate your government and you think that they're decadent and immoral, that's because the population has become decadent and immoral. And it's always a reflection thereof, going all the way back to Rome.
Which I would blame on capitalism. So I feel like we're actually
Roman capitalism.
A bit of an agreement on that, on the nature of capitalism that thrives on the value system of profit over people and exploits greed and uses greed to exploit all of these differences amongst all of us. So we're so totally distracted, which is why.
All right. So greed. Yes, greed is bad. Capitalism, however, is what brought us to be the powerhouse nation we are today. We have bills that come out every single year. One of them is SNAP, as a lot of people are concerned with right now because it is November 1st and people have lost their SNAP benefits. But we pay $99.8 billion with a B a year in SNAP benefits. Without capitalism, we would not have that. Period. We also paid around $909 billion with a B to Medicaid every year. How would we do that without some income of some sort? What ideology do you think would replace this? Socialism? Communism? What other ideology makes money in order to pay their people to do nothing?
I think Christian nationalism is bad for America. I do think I'm kind of hitting a wall.
This is when we normally go to Q&A.
I don't
Okay,
know.
cool.
I would like to finish the debate where I feel like we're right at the end, and I have a couple of questions for you.
Okay, we can wrap it up.
When it comes.
Yeah, we can wrap it up. I'll give you permission. I'm hitting a wall because I'm losing the debate. So I've got to figure out how to get out of this. No, lady. Just because you can't handle the heat doesn't mean you just get to jump out of the fire. You're in a debate.
To this view. So the thing is like, I actually don't understand how you can make a case at this point in the debate that what you're not actually, because you remember, you didn't refute anything I just said about power, the distribution of power, human behavior, how it works. No, you didn't. How is it ultimately that what you're arguing for right now isn't the collectivized power of force to enforce what you want to see in society? How are you going to do this absent enforcement for your view? How?
I never said absent of enforcement. I said that the power be evenly distributed amongst all of us, and we all collectively decide together X, Y, and Z, which is the point of a democracy in the first place.
But power can't be equally
My
distributed.
understanding is that you're not.
Power cannot be evenly distributed because of the simple fact that if you have to have an enforcement arm, that enforcement arm is answering to someone or a power. That power or that someone has the control over the enforcement arm where so-and-so, person Y, does not have. Thus meaning the person who has the power over the enforcement arm has more power than person Y. That will always be the case. So unless you're advocating for a non-combative and non-enforcement arm system, at which time then you've got communism, then you've got anarchy, then you've got nothing that protects the people from thieves, from unalivings, from all sorts of other things. The power cannot ever be evenly distributed. It is not a possibility.
I don't know if you're like pro-democracy, but that's the point of democracy, right? So
No. The point of democracy is to give everyone an equal say. Democracy does not give everyone an equal pay. That is communism. That is socialism. And in every case that has ever been tried, it fails. We do not want to try it here, guys.
did not say that no, power is never going to be unequally distributed.
Yeah,
I
did.
said that on our level, if we're talking about all of the actual anxieties that everyday people are living through, it's not about the power between the right and the left. I think that's a total distraction. That's,
yeah, but
again,
I don't
my
understand
first
the view.
argument.
I just want to make sure I understand the view. So here's what I don't get. You keep on saying that you want power to be equally distributed.
Well,
but
really, it's resources.
Resources.
Your
I
argument
agree.
earlier, I
Resources
was
is
talking-
power. Sure.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so that's what I mean, is resources equally distributed. That's it.
So you would rather, I just want to make sure I got this right. You'd rather see everybody here than see some people here and some people there. If you had to choose,
let's
hang on,
be
I just want to make
so-
sure. Hang on,
it's like
stop.
this.
Okay, here
I
comes
want
the
to make sure.
contradiction,
I want to
guys.
make sure.
It's not like that, though.
For the average person, it's not.
How about this?
Hang on.
We're
Stop.
right here,
Stop.
and I would rather it be here.
Let me ask the.
Here, this isn't equal, guys. That isn't equal. And as soon as you have this, it allows for that grow. And he'll explain that here in just a minute.
Question before you start answering it.
But it's not fair.
Let us assume for a second, okay, that when we create this distribution, you have people who are here and people who are here, okay? That's where they are. Now, in this distribution, would you rather see people here, right? Here. Or would you rather see them there? So if you have some people who have a lot more than these people here do, right? Just some more than they do. Would you still rather see that there?
Okay. You're saying
So some people just have slightly more than these people. Would you still rather see it there?
yes.
Yes.
That's the point.
Yes. So the thing is that when you get to that, does that mean that we all live in the same houses like commie blocks?
Okay, so that's fair. So I do think
She laughs and then she says it's fair. Make it make sense. If you're advocating for equality, my house cannot be any different than yours. If my house has anything different than the person next to me, they're going to see it as better at some point in time. Because the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, right? We get told that all the time. But the grass is greener where you water it. You have to be happy with what you have because you've earned it. This idea that we get to just give everybody things is ridiculous. The idea that you teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. If you give that man a fish, you feed him for the day. It's just the same idea. Let's give people. How do you catch feral pigs, guys? You put up a fence and you put feed. Well, you find a open field, you put feed in it, and then you put up a fence. And once they've gotten used to that, you put up another fence. And once they've got used to that, you put up another fence. And once they've got used to that, you put up a gate. And you leave that gate open, and that feed is there, and they'll find their way in there, and they'll slam that gate shut. And that's how they catch feral pigs. So what do we have going on in the Americas right now? SNAP, $99.8 billion a year. Feed. Now we got the government shutdown. Is that gate shutting? We need to start thinking for ourselves and start defending for ourselves again. This idea that we've got people out there saying that they're going to start robbing stores and robbing people because they don't have their SNAP benefits that we, the people, are giving them. We all need to start pulling our weight again in order for this nation to be the powerhouse that it was, or even stay alive.
I do think there is a bit of a utopia nature to a lot of that perfectly equal distribution. Fair. However,
I'm asking honestly,
hold on.
Would you rather
I'm
see
trying to be
commie
honest.
blocks than a guy like me have like a nice big house? Would you rather see commie blocks than that?
I would rather, here's my argument. Here's my actual argument.
Uh-huh.
We're here. Can you see that okay? We're
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
I would totally much rather us just get to here. Okay.
Mhm.
But we're so far here. And that is why people are experiencing so much anxiety, fueled by, guess what? The unchecked proliferation of the social media algorithms that don't care about whether or not we're addicted to our phones or addicted to content or whatever.
So start using it for your benefit, guys. Hi. Why I'm here. I'm tired of struggling to survive. So I'm here to utilize that right there. I'm tired of fearing the algorithm, and I'm starting to utilize it to my benefit. It's time for you guys to do the same. If you want to exercise your free speech, please do. Whether you're for me, for my views, or not, I don't care. I would love the discourse. The one thing we need to get back to is communication. Why I'm here. Why Andrew's online like he is. Why Charlie Kirk was doing what he was doing. The moment we stop talking, divorce happens. The moment we stop communicating, war breaks out. It's time. Unity is time to come back. But as he goes on to state here that even as what she's talking about, if you were to have an apple tree and you take the seeds of that apple and you plant that tree, is she proposing to take those apples from that tree? Because you can then take that apple and you can sell it for 25 cents an apple or whatever the case may be. And you can get a leg up from your neighbor. Again, if you're here, not here, if you get to here, then maybe we can keep it there. But if there's ever even just that much, it allows for that wedge to go in and start to move that down and grow that distance from the people. And there's nothing wrong with that. It just means that these people need to step up their game, bro. No, not everybody will be able to be the 1%. They are a 1% for just that reason. But maybe it's time for the 99% to have their time. It's time for us to speak out and say enough is enough. I'm tired of my money going outside of the United States when I've worked so hard to build my own nation up. when I've paid in the taxes and done my due diligence for my people, for my nation. I'm not working my life away to create a life for the world. Sure, I'm not saying that we can't give them stuff if we're set here. But you cannot fill from an empty cup. We all know this saying. We need to focus on ourselves before we can help others. We have to focus on America first, and then we can go outside of that. So I think I've pretty much covered all that I'm going to cover of the debate. And of course, this episode of Life Thru a Potato's Eye is brought to you by Sputnik Liberty Locks, the world's first potato-powered personal defense system. Sputnik Liberty Locks, made with 100% free-range starch, guaranteed to resist moisture, Marxism, and mandatory compliance training. When they say, we're from the government and we're here to help, just smile and say, I've got Liberty Locks. Thanks. You can move along now. And potato fact of the week. Did you know that potatoes once symbolized rebellion? In Ireland, during World War II, potato patches were hidden food stores. A quiet act of defiance against oppressive rationing. Turns out, even in dark times, the humble Spud still knew how to resist authority and sprout hope. So next time you peel a potato, remember, we've been standing up to nonsense since before humans figured out how to deep fry us. Freedom doesn't fade all at once, guys. It crumbles bit by bit under the weight of temporary measures that never end and safety policies that never get repealed. You've got to speak up, stand up, and show up, even when it's uncomfortable, because every right you fail to defend becomes a privilege the government can tax, limit, or temporarily suspend for your protection. Remember, tyranny never announces itself. It just shows up wearing a lanyard, holding a clipboard, and asking for your compliance. So stay loud, stay lawful, of course, but stay ready, always. Because freedom doesn't belong to the loudest, it belongs to the vigilant. Never back down. And if you're listening to this, you are the vigilant. Please take care of yourselves out there. Keep an eye on your neighbors. You never know what they're going through. Be kind. Always. Inside of the United States, please remember your Second Amendment rights. Your response time will always be faster than that of the police. I want you all around. You are all very important. And outside of the United States, please take care of yourselves the best way that you know how. You are also all very important in the coming days. And for now, your friendly neighborhood potato, signing off and wishing you luck.
This is our home. Let's take care of it first.